Welcome to Speaking of Influence. We are going out live right now. So if you're joining us live, welcome. If you want to join us live in the studio audience, please use the link that you'll see in the description. That way you can come and join us in the virtual studio, and you can even stick around for a bit of Q&A at the end to ask my guest any questions that you might want to put to her. Now, I wasn't planning to have voice coaching as a theme on the show last week, but it did. It came up, and that ended up being what we discussed. We have an expert voice coach with us today. So I love when we get to continue these themes. And her name is Dielle Hannah. She's a voice coach in the UK. She's amazing. One of the nicest people I've had the pleasure of meeting through doing this podcasting. So please welcome Dielle to the show.
Thank you, Johnny. That's really lovely. I'm getting glowing reports from you all round today.
Honestly, you are one of those people who's so proactive and nice and kind. And it's like, I love meeting people like you, Dielle.
Oh, bless you. Thank you. That's very sweet.
Now I know you sometimes
Likewise.
you prefer to be called D. Do you prefer that or
Yeah, that's fine. D is fine.
okay?
Yeah, call me D.
Okay, we'll go with that. So Dee, welcome to the show. It's a real pleasure to have you here. I've been looking forward to this conversation for a very long time. You were the first planned voice coach I had on the show. Last week was a little unplanned, but it's still great. We had a lot of fun talking about this. But for the audience benefit, tell us a bit more about what you do and maybe even how you came to be doing it.
So, a bit more about what I do. So, I love all things voice, and I performing and singing at a really young age, and I was a trained singer from a really young age. So I've been training my voice my whole life. It feels like, for the bit that counts anyway. Um, I started my own business many moons ago, and I went to a business training event where I was surrounded by people, and a lot of people were training to be speakers, were coaches, and lots of them were mentioning that they had this amazing 3-day training event and they couldn't get to the end of it without losing their voice. And to me, as a singer who's looked after my voice and trained my voice for many, many years, this was absolutely horrible to my ears. And I just grabbed a couple of people and sort of said, have you tried this and have you tried that? And just kind of revolutionized their world into opening out, yeah, just the sort of scales falling from their eyes, that actually you can train on this stuff, and you can improve all, develop vocal fitness, you can develop intonation and modulation and how to engage people and all of those sorts of things. It's not just everything, it's not just your natural charisma. And the idea back then to work with speakers more, to use my knowledge that I'd trained and learned my whole life as a singer, with because this information seemed to be so alien. And then life took over, and I have worked a little bit with people on and off over the years, and then about 5 years ago, Chris and I studio, it's a lovely studio, and started producing audiobooks that I've always loved. And
Great.
yeah, and we were working with a lot of, and it is my belief that if you have a message, then the best voice to deliver that message is yours. So rather than take the voiceover work, which is what I had done, which is what I would have done, I then found myself turning my hand to coaching people to get studio ready to voice their own audiobooks. And I just think so it's a much, much more powerful product if
Mm.
themselves can be the one who's narrating it. So that's sort of my journey with speakers. And then the delights of lockdown meant that it gave me the time to actually develop some programs for speakers. So it's much more tailored towards, rather than sort of giving you singing exercises and tacking on things that you might do with someone who sings as well. It is 100% tailored towards speakers. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's sort of how we came to be where we
That's
are.
great. I think I might want to ask you a bit more about the audiobook stuff a bit later on in
Sure.
our conversation, but that's not where I want
Mm.
to start. I want to start where one of the things I know as a speaker, not as a singer, so people who've heard me sing will know why that's the case, but um, as a speaker, most speakers, and I've been guilty of this myself very much, do not really look after their instrument, their voices particularly well, and don't really do workouts, warm ups, or
Yeah.
any real work on their voices to improve the quality or sound of the voice. Now, a lot of my speaking work is doing this, doing the podcast.
Mm.
And I will admit, I haven't done any, other than speaking to people, I haven't done any warm ups or any preparation for the show. Do you find that's very common? People just don't really do a lot to take care of their voice.
Absolutely. I I'm just gonna say before I'm just gonna I'm actually a very approachable, um, down to earth, candid coach, but I am and very understanding about the pressures of life in general. I am going to say though, we are shocked. Even people who do know don't do it,
Right.
and um, so it's shockingly common. I find myself in all areas of life actually that lots and lots of people are professional voice users and they're not aware of it. Everyone who teaches, everyone who works in customer service, everyone who's a receptionist, everyone who works in hospitality and you're dealing with people, if you have to work, it's not just about, being an entrepreneur and shouting your message from the rooftops or the Facebook rooftops or wherever you're doing it. But if you speak for your work, then you are a professional voice user. And that label has sort of been saved for politicians and orators and actors and professional
Right.
singers. But yeah, there's of that people who are really struggling with their voices because they don't know how to look after it. And like, why would you unless someone tells you? It's very, very common.
Yeah, I think one of the things I find very common is people really struggling. Like you mentioned about helping people with their intonation and with some of their expressiveness when they speak. And sometimes you do hear people like they don't have that, or they get very robotic when they start speaking and very
Yeah.
unrelaxed, very tense, and it comes across really, really quickly. You can tell right away when somebody is not used to or comfortable with presenting. But I think you can sometimes also tell when they haven't done any work on their voice as well, like their
Mm,
voice seems maybe a bit too soft or quiet. I
mm,
know when I've worked in public speaking coaching, and not the same as what you do, but I have had to work with people who just very quiet and they're whispering everything and they're like, sorry, we can't hear you over here.
yeah.
And so having to work at least on projection and things like that with people, which so
Yeah.
many people don't even know about, which is incredible. You have your work cut out for you.
Yeah, absolutely. What I really like to do, what I really like to drill down to is finding the natural um the finding people's natural approach with that so that they don't feel like they're putting on a performance. And to be fair, I do this with singers as well. It's all about finding your natural voice where you are most authentic, just because that's the area that I like to work in. There's nothing wrong with being musical theatre where it is your job to act, it's your job to pretend to be something that you're not. um I like to work with their most authentic self. And with what I do find is that if you say to people that, speak up a bit, love, that there's then makes you self-conscious and then you feel like you're putting on a face and you're putting on a show. And it's a large part of my programs are about giving people the rehearsal space to be able to where is get you comfortable with where is your most comfortable, how soft are your softs, how loud are your louds, and how much do you have to project. And the joy of coupling this with training so that you're actually doing vocal conditioning is that your louds can be a lot louder without sounding like you're shouting. And that's you're talking about like projecting your voice and stuff. If
Right.
people are lots of people who have who have softly spoken, if you ask them to speak up, it's so alien to them to do it that feel like they're shouting, and then the whole tone of what you're delivering changes. Who wants to be shouted at?
And being an active Toastmaster, and I know that some of the people who tune into the show are going to be
Oh, I
part
love
of
Toastmasters.
Toastmasters
They're brilliant.
organizations. Yeah, me too. And one of the things that I do notice, certainly from clubs that I've generally attended, is that it's very rare to come across somebody doing vocal exercises and warm ups. But also, most of those situations don't involve people being set up with microphones and stuff. So this kind of thing of being able to project more, being able to be louder or be heard even when you're speaking softly, as it were,
Mm,
then that's vital, especially in those kinds of presentation situations. And realistically,
definitely.
most people who are going to be speaking and presenting these days in a professional capacity, not necessarily hired as a speaker, but in their professional life, presenting to the boardroom or presenting to investors or whatever it is, will benefit from having some of this ability to make the most out of their voice, right?
Definitely. There's loads and loads that you can read about how uh, presentation skills develop career development, enhances career development in all sorts of areas. So as as an executive, um, working for a company, not necessarily being self-employed, or law firms and stuff like that, that loads and loads of people benefit from speak with authority, learning how to uh, learning how to present confidently, so that you give a good account of yourself. And I think that's one of the things that people out, that they're going to give a presentation and they're going to come away from it feeling that they've not shown everyone that they're as knowledgeable and professional as they really are.
No. They get more panicked about what other people think of them than about doing the presentation.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I wrote an article on I wrote an article and I put it on LinkedIn yesterday about confidence, and a number of times I've said to people that, you know, if you spent as much time with as much love as possible, if you spent as much time preparing as you did telling me that you're worried that it's going to go wrong, have anything to worry about. And um, there are various different things that affect people's confidence. I call it the confidence pyramid, where you it could be lack of confidence in yourself, or come across that an awful lot. Lack of confidence in your subject matter. So if you've been asked to give a presentation on something and it's not your wheelhouse, to coin a phrase, that can bring on hot flushes of the third kind, and presentation skills as well. So there's all of those things, and working with people to work out what that's setting you off. The actions that you need to take will vary
Mm.
depending on what the issues really are. But certainly nowadays, where we're so much and all of that, you've then got the curveball of tech thrown in that
Right.
yeah, it's
The variations
intimidating.
of microphones and all these kinds of things.
Yeah,
Yeah, which makes a
absolutely.
huge difference.
It really does, and we were chatting about this last time we spoke, didn't we? And that
We did.
good sound, and obviously being having the studio as well, I do have experience in working with how to get good sound as well, and it's a combination of vocal technique and delivery, the right microphone, and the treatment of your room as well. So as you can see, um, I'm in an acoustically treated room, which means that I can be a long way from my microphone, which is down here, to be right on top of it, which gives me space to work, and that's just what I like to do. Other people prefer to have a head mic or whatever, and depending on the content, there are loads and loads of different solutions, but just going out and spending $500 on a microphone is not necessarily going to fix it if you don't know,
Yeah.
if
Yeah,
you don't have those
quite
other
so.
pieces in.
Yeah, I think my microphone was around the €100, £100 sort of mark, and I think it does okay. It's a Blue Yeti microphone, and you can get reasonable sound quality from it. But
Yeah.
it's just one of those things that at some point I probably will upgrade my
Mm.
microphones. But whilst this is doing a great job, and whilst I'm working the show with a budget, then it's
Mm.
going to be this is going to do very well for the meantime. You don't have to
Yeah,
necessarily get, like you say, the most expensive bits of kit.
absolutely. And there are some great microphones out there that you can get for round about that sort of price. All sorts of different things. I just did a load of free videos about microphones in my group for just because people were asking me things about lapel mics and head mics and studio grade mics and that sort of thing. And the short of it is that you've got to find what works for you. There's no one size fits all, but it is a combination of those three things. It is if you've your kit and your vocal delivery. So finding the sweet spot of what that is for you, and how that can best serve whatever it is that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
You guys who are listening, what
Yeah.
content are you trying to deliver, and what's appropriate for you, what sort of
It,
style.
it's not necessarily that you have to transform a room of your home into a sound studio. It's there are ways of improving your audio quality and at least getting it good enough that it's not going to sound horrific when you put out audio or video content.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you like me to speak on that a little bit, just
I would.
with some tips? So yeah, obviously I'm sat in an acoustically treated box because I am in a professional I'm in a professional. I'm not always in a professional recording studio. And there are loads of things that you can do to improve your sound. So things to be aware of, stuff like hard surfaces. We talked about that last time, didn't we?
Yeah.
And if you are getting a lot of reflections, so if you're sat in front of, if you've got a window behind you, or hard surfaces around you, you're going to get more reflections of sound, which can make it more difficult for you to be heard well. You can do all sorts of things. All over the world have built vocal booths with mattresses and soft things, but you can hang blankets, you can close the curtains if you're in front of the window, so that you've got something soft behind you. Nice soft wall hanging. When we have audio book recordings in, we put bean bags all around their feet. The excess sound is being absorbed. I promise I don't get paid to promote these, but I spoke to you about this.
I know. I bought mine. I have it. For those who are on
Johnny
video
bought
here,
one of
you can see it just about on the
Yeah,
video
you're
there.
using it.
Yeah,
Great.
I'm using it right now.
This is called an eyeball, and this is something that goes over your mic. So rather than treating your room, you can pop this over the mic. It serves a lot of those purposes of acoustic treatment. I believe this is around $30. So depending on where you live, I think you may have had some didn't you?
Yes, thank you, Brexit. Yeah.
Yeah.
The import to Spain ended up costing me about the same as the actual kit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that. But
It is.
compared to,
I
yeah,
did try and find some ways around it, but there was no getting around it. However, I have been using it since the day it arrived, and I have noticed significant improvement in my audio quality from it.
there you go. Little tip there.
So it's
That's
been
great. I'm
very,
really
very
glad. Yeah.
worthwhile.
Yeah,
Yeah.
brilliant. It's really, really easy to use. If you do live, um you can try Thomann, Thomann, I think. They're based in Germany, and they're really good for gear. But this is, I think, you you
Can
soon.
give that a go. Or if you happen to be visiting the UK, get it there.
Yeah.
Get it delivered to you where you're visiting, which was going to be another potential option, but I didn't want to wait that long. I have to be honest about that.
Yeah, that's true. I'm glad you found it useful anyway. And even
Yeah.
at double the price, it's still it's
Oh
a
yeah, great.
really user friendly, easy, cost effective way of improving regardless of what room you're in. So if you are finding that you're getting lots of echo or whatever, that it saves you if you're not really sure what you're doing, putting coats and blankets in places to see if that helps. You could
Or trying to
just
record in the wardrobe, which I heard people do as well. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. There's
it's
they
better.
traditionally in a studio, so you've got it's like a mattress on wheels, and you just move it around so that it's in the right place. But
Yeah, I
yeah.
think people in the offices that I work in might get a bit suspicious if I will in a mattress one of these days. But at best, they'll think I'm moving in. At worst, for goodness knows. But
No, I'm not sleeping here. I'm not sleeping here. I'm not. Oh
honestly,
dear.
I go home at nights, which I think they already think I don't. But but that's great. So, some great tips. I'd like to come on to talking to you about what you do with your clients. Like if someone comes to you, and I'm guessing you probably have some people who've never done any kind of vocal training before.
Yeah.
Where do you start with people?
So the first thing I do is sit down with them and talk to them about what it is that they're, what where are you and where do you want to be, basically, and talk to them about what experience they've got and what form going to deliver in at the moment. So people, and I have all kinds of people like healers who are delivering, who are delivering online now. Uh, First of all, let's just take a temperature of where are you and get a handle on what the various issues are. So for some people, if they're leaving corporate and they're starting their own business, they'll have presentation skills, but stepping out into a new space where they're being themselves for the first time um, is a bit of an issue. Works on vocal training is one element of it, but yeah, the first thing I do is sit down with them and work out what it is that they want to do and what they feel the issues are before I start. Well, you
Okay,
need to do
so
this and you need to do that.
if I came to you then as your client, where would you start with someone like me?
So first of all, I'd ask you, what are you looking to get out of it? So, uh, what would you be looking to get out of it?
Oh, I want to sound more like Sir Patrick Stewart on my podcast.
Okay. And how far from Sir Patrick Stewart at the moment?
Um, I think I'm on my way. So I think there are times when I sound a little bit like him. I get some of that resonance in my voice.
So you're looking for, you want to develop a richer, deeper, resonant sound in your voice. Is
Yeah,
that what you're looking for?
I looking perhaps to have that. I do a lot of public speaking, so I mean, I'm kind of messing with it, but I do a lot of public speaking, and my goal is to sound more like a leader, to sound like I have a great confidence in my voice, that I project well, that I have a resonance and power to what I say that puts me in that authority position.
Yeah, lovely. So there are a variety of things. There are a variety of vocal exercises that we can do and presentation exercises. So if we were talking about, um, if we're talking about resonance, physical sound to start with, there are exercises that I would do with you to get you to work on modulation, so pitch and tone, and variety. It's working out where are you, and where are the edges for you at the moment with that. Where is the lowest pitch in your voice where you're comfortable speaking, and before it starts to sound like we've got a bit too far. Yeah. So it's sort of
Right.
working out how low can we go, and
Mhm.
and then working, and then there are all kinds of ways to exercise that with dynamic and louds and softs and that kind of thing.
Okay.
There's sorry, go on.
I was going to ask if we could do an exercise now that people watching or listening can join in with.
Yeah, sure. I'm just going to make a little note to myself, as I would. So I'm going to, with the next exercise I was just about to tell you about, let's do it together. So imagine the stage in your mind of where you're presenting, and this doesn't matter whether it's real or not. Picture somewhere that you can remember, that will come to you easily.
Okay.
And on the, excuse my dyslexia, left hand side of the stage is
Mm-hmm.
your sage, is your guru. And think yogi, think ancient wisdom, think deep inner peace, and that is on the left hand side of the stage. On the right hand side of the stage is your warrior. Power, projection, maybe a little bit of anger. This is where you throw rocks at things. This is where you shout down all of the things that, all of the myths surrounding whatever the work it is that you do. There are always people who've said a lot of stuff that's not true. And the extreme of that is on the other side of the stage.
Okay.
So if you're happy to do this with me
Mm-hmm.
for now, close your eyes if it helps, and
Okay, I will.
come over to the left hand side of the stage with me, and we're going to find Johnny's sage. We're going to find your
Mm-hmm.
guru. So forget words for a minute. I want you to communicate with me with the tone of your voice. So the way that you say something is every bit as important, if not more so, than the actual words you choose. So we're just going to count from to 11. And we're going to stay on the left hand side of the stage, and we're going to do this as the sage. So if you want to start 2, 3 to start with. So over to you.
1, 2, 3.
Lovely. Now imagine we've just done some meditation, and we've done a little bit of yoga, if that's your thing. And
Sure.
wind up the calm and the peacefulness, and do 3, 4, 5.
3, 4, 5.
Lovely. Now let's turn down the volume so we're just above a whisper, and try 5, 6, 7.
5, 6, 7.
That's really nice. So let's stay there, and let's try 7, 8, 9 with that at that same level.
7, 8, 9.
Now 9, 10, 11.
9, 10, 11.
Lovely. So when you're ready, just open your eyes.
I didn't start snoring or anything like that.
No, that's I'm sorry. You froze a little
That's
bit
good.
there for a sec, just as you opened your eyes.
Okay.
But so it's just bringing you to that point where I think we all have a box of this is how I speak when I'm presenting, and I'm just looking at bringing out the contrast and bringing out more finding where the extremes are. And I think even when I said to you, stay here and let's do, I think it was 7, 8, 9, it was even more peaceful when you came back to that. And I think there is definitely room for that making the quieters quiet, what it does is it draws people in. I think it's, and sorry, this is a little bit of a segue from the exercise itself. I'm just vamping now, but it's beaten into us at school that when you speak in assembly, and there is massive, massive power in being quiet, being peaceful, and drawing people to you with that tone of voice. We think if someone's going to tell you a secret, you lean in, and there's a huge amount of power there. So I think I'm really glad that we're recording this, because obviously you can reflect on that. I think when we were around 8, 9, 9, 10, 11, we really found I think if we were to go further than that, it would be interesting to see what the effect would be to go further than that. But I think that's round about where your sage edge is. So let's come over. So let's do the same. So come over to the right hand side of the stage with me, and we're
Okay,
going to
good.
look at.
I was hoping we were going to do this bit as well. Cool. I'm ready. I'm there.
So yeah, let's. So warrior. This is yeah, power, stance, nothing. And if there for those of you who have any kind of spunky anger in your brand, then you can bring in a little bit of that over here at the warrior. Obviously instructive to point and swear and call names and things like that. But
Let's not do that today.
let's not today. But okay, so for warrior, let's do the same thing.
Okay.
In a warrior, and think about the fights that you want to fight with your business, and the ground that you want to stand in, and the area that you want to own, and let's fight for it with 1, 2, 3. So whenever you're ready.
1, 2, 3.
Excellent. Okay, so that's definitely some punch there, and there's definitely some ownership. Let's dispense with the nice just for the sake of the exercise.
Okay.
So 3, 4, 5, and yeah, wind up the gutsiness.
3, 4, 5.
Oh, what a difference! Beautiful. Okay, so let's keep going with that. 5, 6, 7.
5, 6, 7.
Excellent. And again, 7, 8, 9.
7, 8, 9.
Great. And let's be really angry to finish. 9, 10, 11.
9, 10, 11.
Great. Okay. So, how was that for you?
It was interesting. Very different energy. And it's something I'm thinking, I don't know if I've ever really feel like I've accessed that in speaking before. So that's interesting to me.
Yeah. Great.
Sorry.
No, go on. I've got one more bit. If you want to.
Okay.
If
I do, and then I'll come
yeah,
back to the point I was going to make
sure.
because it's more of an observation. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
great. So in in a full coaching session, we would spend a little bit more time going over those two things. Now let's the last section, which is walking across the stage from sage to warrior. So we're looking for a transition from your softest, wisest, soft, angriest, your angriest warrior. So
Okay.
this is why the visualization can help, and you can translate this to any space. So if you are in, a ballroom at a hotel, something, you can map out your movement as well, if that's appropriate. But it also can help you with your prep. That which bits do you want to deliver do you want to deliver like a warrior, and there's all of that ground in between. So let's come over to Sage. Let's just check in with Sage. So
Okay.
um just that peaceful yogi, um
Yeah, I'm there.
yes. And let's just find that edge first, because we've come quite away from there. So do you want to just try a 1, 2, 3?
1, 2, 3.
Lovely. Okay. And when you did that before, um you did it a lot slower. So
Okay.
let's try that. I really like the tone. Let's try it again with that peaceful space in between the numbers. Try 1, 2, 3
1,
again.
2, 3.
Lovely. Okay, so let's call that our, and then we're going to walk across the stage. So 1 is full sage, 11 is full warrior. In your own time and your own expression, walk across the stage 1 to 11, so that we arrive at warrior at 11 and just go straight through the numbers. So whenever you're
Okay.
ready.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Excellent. Excellent. So as you're moving more towards warrior, you're speeding up. You were elevating in pitch as well. I'm not sure if that was conscious or whether you were aware of that.
No.
We're elevating elevating in pitch and volume. So all of those things are coming together, and then it's good to do that. That's an exercise that you can do and just walk around while you're doing
Oh, I'm definitely going to be doing this. I love this. I
it.
love this exercise. And
Yay.
yeah, so the thing that came up to me whilst we were doing this is them
Yeah.
thinking, okay, well, why did you choose a sage and a warrior? I'm thinking, okay, well, these are archetypal figures, right? These are the archetypal energies that you're getting me to imagine tuning into and channeling for myself. Do you generally go for using the archetypes that you feel are the best fit, or for where people are looking to go with their show, or are these the two that you generally use in that exercise?
I think they are images that most people can relate to in some way or another. And there's some ground that I mean, I talk about yoga a lot because I do a lot of yoga, but it's uh, it's that most people have a message that they feel passionate like a warrior about, and that they have some wisdom to offer. So it is something that it's accessing that part of yourself, and that not everything has to be literally, that um, going with those two images is something that's I find easy to remember, and just the picture, what that is, channels a lot of energy and expression.
Right.
without
But I
having
guess
to
you could
say,
use
yeah,
that. Yeah. You could use
yeah,
that with any archetype that you want to
yeah,
embody for whatever purposes for your presentation. So it's a great exercise for
absolutely.
acting and for voice. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. If you wanted to swap one of those for a clown or something that has a
My
totally
usual
different
voice, you mean?
energy,
Right.
if there's something else that is a different color that you're trying to bring in. Like I know one of the Toastmasters um trainings is on integrating humor, isn't it?
Right.
That one of the things that you can do is train on
Pathways.
how
Yeah.
to how to pathway. That's it. Yeah, I've been as a guest a couple of times. I'm not actually a Toastmaster, um, but something like that you particularly want to bring into your act. Or I've known people who um, juggle as part of their act, or if you've got a certain um, the performance that you're trying to bring out, then yeah, you could swap those images,
Yeah,
anything.
I've done magic tricks as part of some of my presentations before. That's
Brilliant.
always fun, but not too many people know. Through the history of the show, I brought on a lot of humorous speakers and professional comedians as well, and I always love talking to them about many of the different aspects around comedy. But actually going down that track myself, like you talked about the pathway of humor, that's going to be my next pathway once I finally complete
Ah,
the current one that I'm on. But doing a lot of courses and reading and learning around stand up, and yes, you can learn how to do stand up, and that's where I'm heading with a lot of my stuff at the moment, because I love making people laugh, but it's a really great resource to
yeah,
have when you're on the stage. And so
yeah,
these kind of exercises are, oh yeah, the embodiment is so much more important, especially if you want to be funny when you're presenting. That I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'm loving this, I'm so happy I've had you on the show.
yeah, yeah. It's I think humor is is a lot more difficult than it looks. It's
Yeah,
stand up art in itself. I love stand up comedy.
but it's a
Um,
learnable art. That's the good thing about
yeah,
it. So we'll see where they go. We'll see if I manage to make people up. I usually do a pretty good job, but I want to turn that up and do it even more. I think is that I love seeing people laugh, and I think people learn better when they're laughing, and
yeah,
everyone has a great time. I think people synchronize with each other as well. It feels like when everybody's laughing, it feels like a community thing. Like we come together, we're doing something together.
yeah.
So I love that. That was great.
Very
I really,
powerful.
really, really loved that exercise. Now
Good.
I'm looking at the time, listening to the time, so thinking, okay, we don't have all day here, but so I want to get on. That was great, and I hope that people who are watching or listening will try that out. It's very different to some of the exercises that we were doing last week with Ambika Devi. So this week it's a bit more of a psychological almost exercise, the channeling that energy, putting yourself into a character, if you like, and switching between that, or bringing in elements of those characters to have that variety and have those different levels. I really love that, and I'm going to play with that a lot.
Good.
I want to come back to what you were talking about audiobooks, because I do know that a lot of my show's audience are writers and authors, or at least
Mhm.
would like to be, and will probably be thinking about audiobooks, or at the very least thinking about online courses and programs as well.
Mm.
We've had people on to talk about those things before, and having your voice as good as possible is really important. But what do you do to help people then prepare? You mentioned that you go through some processes with people
Yeah,
to do their own audiobooks. Give us a bit more of an idea about that.
absolutely. So the authors that I've worked with have a variety of different issues that need addressing when it comes to getting them studio ready. A lot of those things have fed the content for my programs, where some of that is psychological, as you say, some of that is physical training on your voice, some of that is voice preparation. um so in a nutshell, the broad advice that I give to authors when they come into the studio is practice. No, it's weird to sit there and read your book out loud to yourself, but practice it, because it is really intense. And this is why you would normally normally in days gone by, you would hire a professional voice, because they have the stamina, they have um they have the experience. It is actually really intense to sit there and read for however long you're going to do it. We do 8 hours. Some of our authors live far away. They travel to us to do it. It's a big investment, and they sit there and they read for 9 hours. That is a long old day. So yeah, first of all, practice. Don't be afraid to breathe. Being in task mode, I think, when you're in the studio means you just can just ramble on, not ramble on, but read on. If you know that if you've got a little bit of prep time, I mean, there are some exercises that you can do that will make a difference within a week. So if you know that you've got a studio session coming up, do some training, do some vocal exercises, do some conditioning exercises so that your voice is actually stronger and more expressive to be able to do that. Nutrition and hydration is massive. I can tell you that every single author who's ignored this advice, I can tell you where their voice gave out in their audiobook. Roundabout chat, because you ignored me and you didn't. Having 4 coffees in the morning is really not going to help. And when you're drinking it, you think it's not going to make any difference, and it will, believe me. Hydration makes a massive difference to your voice. So here's one of my best pieces of information. It 4 hours for the water that you drink to systemically hydrate your vocal cords. When you drink water, it doesn't go anywhere near your vocal cords. If it did, you would drown, because to your lungs.
Good to know. Yeah.
Your vocal cords are over your windpipe, not over your stomach, right? So it takes up to 4 hours for the water that you drink to systemically hydrate your vocal cords. Believe me that when you are well hydrated, everything sounds sexier, everything is easier. You will have more expression and stamina. It also helps you concentrate a lot better if you're well hydrated. So as far as caffeine goes, I would say, and believe me, I love a coffee and I am an absolute tea bag, but I know that it really makes a massive difference to the quality of the sound. Sorry, this is really gross. A lot of vocal coaching is talking about phlegm. There are loads and loads of different types of phlegm. And when you drink coffee, you get that thick, claggy sort of phlegm where you just want to clear your throat all the time. Mm-hmm. Even if you can manage to speak without clearing your throat, it sounds like you need to. So your listeners are then listening to this gravelly,
phlegmy
sort of voice that sounds like, oh God, will you just cough? Will you just cough? So to retain some of the richness of the tone is hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. As you can tell, this is one of my warrior subjects. This is one of the things that it's so simple and it makes such a massive difference.
I think whether
whatever
you're doing
caffeine you need
voice
to
work
in
or
the
not,
morning. Drink whatever caffeine you need to in the morning so you haven't got a headache, and then water, 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 water. If you need to stop so that you can go to the bathroom, you absolutely can. That's fine. So yeah, I could go on, but I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's great. I think drinking more water is probably good advice for most of us, regardless, right? Sorry, you've lost my sound, or okay? For somehow you've lost the sound there, Dee. So hopefully that will come back very shortly. Sometimes these technical issues crop up. Let's see if there's anything I can do here to help you get it back. Whilst we're trying to figure out that, whilst Dee's trying to get the sound, and
try something
okay. Whilst Dee's having played the sound, let's just remind you, if you are watching live, if you're joining us live, if you want to join us in the virtual studio for a bit of Q&A with Dee, this is assuming we can get the microphone or audio issue taken care of here and now. Then we will just stay on. Join us in the virtual studio. The link is in the episode description that you will have joined us on the live stream on, and that's to come and join us in the Riverside FM studio as an audience member. And you can ask questions to Dee yourself in the chat box. If we don't get to do this live, we'll come back and do it another time, and we'll let you know that you can come and ask Dee some questions. Dee, are we back? Do we have audio? Yes? No? Oh no. Okay, well, we may have to wrap things up here then, and so, well, I don't really know what to do other than that. So if you do have questions for Dee, we'll set up another time for the Q&A. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do it now, and we'll wrap up the show another time. And we'll end the live stream. But I will say, although she can't hear me, thank you, Dee, and thank you for everything you shared. I will give you all the information for how you can connect with Dee. Dee has on her website a free giveaway, which is for 3 minutes of vocal exercises that you can do to warm up your voice. We'll make sure that you have that in the episode description as well when the show comes out. With the edited version or as a podcast episode, you will be able to get that link to get those free vocal warm-ups from Dee. And we'll hopefully bring Dee back again in the future as well, and hopefully without these technical issues. So I apologize for that. Nothing we can do about it, unfortunately. But we're going to end the live stream here. Thank you for tuning into the show. If you've joined us live, if you're not live with us, you can join us live for any of the shows, and also for the show Points of Change. Join us live in the virtual studio, become part of the experience yourself, and get the opportunity to ask questions from yourself to my guests, not as part of the live streams, but as part of the after show. So if you want to be part of the after show, the Q&A, then make sure you're following me on social media. Make sure you're following this show, that you're subscribed to the channel. And speaking of influencers, the show, you can find us on YouTube as well. And you can find us on all good podcasting networks. Let's end the live streaming here. And apologies for the technical issues. Nothing we can do about it.